The rich man is enjoying the massage, but the blind masser suddenly detects something abnormal. He hears a slight sound of picking the lock at the door. At first, the rich man thinks he is making excuses to be lazy, but unexpectedly, a group of robbers suddenly break in and directly control him tightly with a kick in the face. Seeing that the safe requires a fingerprint password, the robbers quickly drag the rich man to the front and order him to quickly crack the password. The rich man knows that he can't confront the robbers head-on. On the surface, he cooperates with the robbers' requirements, but actually deliberately triggers the alarm with the wrong finger, and at the same time takes a telescopic baton for self-defense, threatening the robbers to leave quickly. However, the leader of the robbers is completely enraged and orders his subordinates to deal with it. The stubborn rich man even adds 2 more shots, fearing that he is not dead yet, and then immediately drags the body to open the safe. In order to verify whether the blind masseur is telling the truth, the leader of the robbers picks up a candlestick and stabs him fiercely. Seeing that he doesn't respond at all, he leaves a harsh word and turns away. Unexpectedly, as soon as the few people get on the domestic god car, the sound of police sirens suddenly comes from behind. Seeing this, the robbers step on the accelerator directly and disappear without a trace in an instant. Faced with the complex alleys, the police officers are a little confused for a while, mistakenly thinking that the direction where the student fell is the escape route of the robbers, but they don't know that the student is an accomplice of the robbers, deliberately falling to confuse the police. And the blind masseur is taken to the police station for interrogation, but the police officer suddenly detects a trace of strangeness in his pupil. Although the man has normal eyesight, he deliberately pretends to be blind. This is because he witnessed a burglary homicide case with his own eyes and knows that once his disguise is seen through by the police, he must appear in court as a witness, and then he will inevitably fall victim to the robbers. However, the witty police officer suddenly took out a lighter and swayed it in front of the man, and found that his pupil had a significant shrinking reaction under the stimulation of light, which is enough to prove that he is not really blind. In order to make the man confess voluntarily, the police officer decided to make public the fact that he was pretending to be blind, which made the man immediately panic and directly explain the whole story and described in detail the appearance of the robbers. However, these words unfortunately were overheard by an undercover agent, who immediately conveyed them to the leader of the robbers. Unexpectedly, after learning the news, the gang leader did not hesitate to open the weapons depot and decided to send his godson Jesse to carry out the assassination mission. But when Jesse set up the sniper rifle and aimed at the blind man, a monster suddenly appeared in the 8x scope, scaring him to miss the best shooting opportunity. At this time, the blind man also realized the danger. He found that the door of the police car had been firmly locked, and the route the car was driving was not the direction home. It turned out that the driver was no longer a police officer, but a subordinate sent by the gang leader. Soon, he was taken to a remote bridge hole to meet a robber on Stackout. Although the blind man struggled with all his strength, he was still brought into the room of the gang leader, with the sound of a beating with sticks. The blind man immediately fell in a pool of blood, but the gang leader did not stop there, but set his sights on Jesse because he did not complete the assassination mission, so he must accept a heartless punishment. 3 robbers kidnapped a little boy, but they didn't kill him. Instead, they trained him to become a top killer and a killing puppet in their hands in order to temper Jesse's courage. The gang leader specifically found a family for him, but when Jesse saw the hunting target, an inexplicable sense of closeness welled up in his heart. However, under the coercion of the gang leader, he still resolutely pulled the trigger. Although Jesse successfully passed the test, the face of the old man kept lingering in his mind. So he returned to the crime scene with doubts again, and was immediately dumbfounded. He unexpectedly discovered his own figure when he was young on an old poster. He suddenly realized that this was his home when he was young, and the old man whom he mercilessly killed was actually his biological father. Driven by extreme sadness, Jesse immediately decided to seek revenge on several robbers. So, he carried a carefully modified sniper rifle and sneaked into an abandoned factory in the dead of night. As soon as it dawned, he called the gang leader and tricked them to come to the factory to save him. However, as soon as the gang leader arrived at the destination, he was pointed at the forehead by his old enemy with a gun. It turned out that this was Jesse's conspiracy, deliberately letting the enemies meet and use the knife to kill. With the smell of gunpowder between the 2 teams being full, Jesse suddenly fired a cold shot, breaking the deadlock, and immediately ignited the fuse. Then, the 2 sides immediately launched a fierce battle. However, after this contest, only the gang leader walked out covered in scars. But little did he know that Jesse had been waiting for a long time. But just as he was about to pull the trigger, a gangster suddenly rushed forward to block, and the gang leader took the opportunity to drive away from the scene. After Jesse dealt with the robbers, he immediately drove straight to the gang leader's residence. Looking at his adoptive father who deceived him, he only had the anger of revenge in his heart, without giving the other party a chance to explain, and directly sent him to the grave with 1 shot. But although the great revenge was avenged, Jesse still couldn't be happy, because the root cause of all this was the developer. If it weren't for the developer forcibly demolishing his hometown back then, the robbers wouldn't have kidnapped his family, and wouldn't have died because of it. In order to fulfill the final mission, he lurked in a construction site tens of thousands of meters away and shot down the evil developer leader with 1 shot.